Welcome to the Armchair Illini podcast. I'm your host, Zach Leslie, and as always, I'm joined by my wonderful co host, Alex Chi. Alex, how are you, man?
I'm doing great, Zach. How are you, man?
Man, it's summer for me. School's over,
Oh
so
yeah,
can
happy
kind
summer.
of I can kind of relax, work on the podcast and other Armchair Illini things, and just kind of chill for a few weeks. But what have you been up to, man?
Oh, not much. I mean, just the usual here.
Got into med
Finally
school though, right?
officially committed to med
Yeah.
school.
Woo.
I've been in since the fall, but
Yeah. So
now I'm like officially committed to one school and
yeah.
all set to go. I'll be starting in July, so
Did you
excited.
take how many official visits did you take?
So I took three official visits.
They have
Uh,
enough for you?
I think so. I just felt the best relationship with the coaching staff. Please respect my decision. No interviews, but yeah, glad to be done. Hopefully, I won't flip my commitment. I know I won't. I won't be flipping my commitment. Oh
Well,
man,
that's awesome,
loyalty.
man. Congrats to you.
Thank you.
It's a great achievement for you. I'm sure it's a nice load off your back a little bit
Hmm.
uh, after graduating from your undergrad and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but let's just get right into it. So there's been a lot of heat and rumors surrounding this Francis Okoro recruitment. A lot of crystal balls going to Oregon this week. Um, some things were said on Twitter, uh, both ways, both positive and negative, mostly negative. Um, but Alex, what is your take on this recruitment, and where do you
Mm.
ultimately think Okoro lands?
So obviously, Francis Okoro is a huge recruit, in-state kid, kind of in your backyard, less than an hour away from Normal, Illinois. Fills a huge position of need. He's not Anthony Davis, but he just gives you what you need in athleticism and length and rim protection. And he's not going to be really good as a freshman, but
Yep.
um, at the same time, he was your top, or if not one of your top 2019 targets, along with E.J. Liddell, Khalil Whitney. And when the news of him reclassifying came out, he sounded like he was always going to reclassify. He was always pretty confident in his ACT, and rightfully so. He got I think a 32 on it, which is
Nice.
pretty darn good. So kudos to him. And I know he's past sort of the age limit to play IHSA ball, so he's either going to do that or go to prep school. But he
Yep.
is more than likely reclassifying, according to Derek Piper. Um, but it's just been a weird recruitment, to be honest,
Yeah.
because um, so the main three schools have always been Purdue, Illinois, and Oregon. And I think I told you this like about a month ago, or maybe a little bit more than a month. Whenever Francis has been interviewed, he always seems enthusiastic about Oregon, but then when the like whether it be like Scott Burgess or Joe Henriksen, like they mention Illinois, and he just doesn't seem that enthusiastic.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, maybe at the time I was reading too much into it, or maybe looking too much into it. But he just never seemed too into Illinois. He would just be like, yeah, I like Coach Walker, or they have a nice offense, they're a nice coaching staff. And then when you mentioned Oregon, he sort of just lights up. So I always felt like Illinois has a somewhat of a sell, but not as sexy, so to speak, a sell as Oregon or even Purdue.
Yep.
Um, but based off what I've heard the last couple weeks, it just seems like it's a two horse race. Since the Purdue visit was pretty underwhelming for him, the Purdue visit was underwhelming because they were sort of selling him on being a four,
Mm.
and that's not something he wants to do. He wants to play the
Yeah.
five. He wants to be able to run the floor. Purdue sort of is more of a grind it out half court offense.
Yep.
A lot of sets that they run, and it just didn't seem like a good fit for him. Even though Purdue's kind of the big man they produce tons of great big men.
Yeah.
Wonderful atmosphere. I don't know. Have you ever been to Mackey?
I have been to Mackey. I saw them play Illinois
Oh God.
uh, back in the Dimitri McCamey days.
Okay. Okay. I was gonna say
Like
because
days.
if you saw them recently, they probably clobbered Illinois.
Yeah, no, it was not recent. It was
Yeah. Yeah.
several years ago, but it was
Okay.
awesome. I liked it way more than I liked
State Farm.
Not State Farm. Assembly Hall in Indiana. Because I saw the same year I saw Illinois play Indiana at Assembly Hall in Indiana.
Yeah, Mackey's on my bucket list of states to go to. It's amazing. But yeah, they have a lot to sell. They're a winning program. They make it to the NCAA tournament at least every year. Painter's a great coach. I met him once actually, just randomly in Champaign. I think they had a game or something. He was just hanging out, and he was just a really nice guy. So but I mean, that aside, Purdue seemed to be out of it, and then we've been trying to get him on a visit. We're trying to get him on a visit. And what I brought up a couple weeks ago, if you guys remember, is we only have a limited amount of official visits left. And because he's so close, the staff was trying to sell him on coming unofficially, so we didn't have to use one of those. And honestly, even if we wanted to give it to him, I don't think we have much left.
Yeah.
So, it's just been pulling teeth. And if a kid hasn't visited, obviously Francis has been to campus a couple times, but if he hasn't been to your campus close to his decision date, that's not a good sign.
Yeah, exactly.
It just seems that everything's pointing towards Oregon. I'll sort of give my take on what I feel about Oregon later, but yeah, man, it's just been weird for me, but I don't feel pretty confident. Surprise, surprise. What about you?
Yeah, I tweeted out some things in the past 24 hours about how I feel about this recruitment. And really, for me, it just, as a kid who just picked where he was going to school, even though I didn't do it athletically, it's a hard decision. You have voices telling you, maybe you should check out here or here or here. And ultimately, you have to make your own decision. And I know for a fact that Okuro's close family members, people he trusts, really want him to go to Illinois. And he's feeling that pressure to go to Illinois. And for me, I know during my process, that would maybe sometimes push me away from the school because everyone's shoving it down my throat all the time. And I'd want to go somewhere else. And maybe that's where Okuro's thinking. But also, too, if a school's not willing to give you an official visit, I would be hesitant as well. Honestly, you'd be like, okay, you just gave this kid literally a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, Bryce Cole, whatever. And you didn't even have a chance at him, and you gave him an official visit. And you're not going to give me one, and I'm literally 60 minutes away. As a kid, I could see how that would come off wrong, and how maybe it didn't ruin the relationship with coaches or anything, but also it just kind of would put a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth. Thinking, man, these coaches won't even give me an official, and I got to decide here in a week or so, So it's I get it from a course perspective of why he would go to Oregon. I think he's going to Oregon. But also, I think this staff could have done a better job, honestly. I'll say it how it is. I think they could have done better with it.
So is that what you mean by botched recruitment?
I think not having enough official visits left shows – and not hitting on anyone shows kind of how this staff has been so far. It's not been great. It's not been very good at all. Right. And I just think not having enough official visits left is kind of more evidence of that.
Right.
To be able to get to him.
Yeah. That's sort of why I brought that question on the Armchair account the other day in that poll. Are you worried about the staff's ability to recruit? I'm not doubting. Let me get this clear. I'm not doubting the coaching staff. Is Francis Okoro a miss if he chooses to go to Oregon? Yes. Can we still win without Francis Okoro? Yes, sure. Of course. This isn't the dagger to your heart, so to speak. But this kid is pretty good. He's a downstate talent. He fills a huge position of need. We've been recruiting him for a very, very long time. This hurts. And, you just sort of have to take a step back and realize that Illinois isn't, man, I'm going to get some heat for this, but Illinois isn't a good program anymore.
Yeah.
It's...
Look at our last 3 years.
Yeah, look at it. And you could see that in the last season where it's coming off one of its worst seasons in a while. You finished 13th in the Big Ten. Let's compare Illinois and Oregon. Oregon made the Final Four, not this past year, but the year before that.
Yeah.
They made an Elite Eight. They produced a number of NBA pros, including big men. Jordan Bell, Chris Boucher's, in the D League working his way. just the list
Dylan
goes on
Brooks.
with them. Yeah, Dylan Brooks, Tyler Dorsey. He's a guard, but still, and you have the Nike support, which is very sexy for a teenager to look at and
Yeah.
be like, man,
Yeah,
this
Nike
entire
don't really care about us.
right. Nike doesn't give a rat's hat about Illinois, but they have a whole factory of just Nike Oregon stuff. The Pacific Northwest is a beautiful, beautiful area. And if he doesn't want to be here, that's fine. But you can also question the staff's recruitment
Yeah.
prowess because, let's be honest here. The Mark Smith thing was a total disaster.
Yeah, it
You
was.
know, yes, you got him over some top programs, but he was coming here regardless of who was the coach.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know, it's not like we, grinded
Most of
his
that
teeth off.
legwork had been done already.
Right, right. He would have been here if John Gross was the coach.
Yeah.
And not only that, but then you have the coach literally singing the praise of this kid in the off season, and he wasn't good.
Yeah.
He was pretty bad. And not to fully defend Mark Smith here, but Mark Smith didn't roll out of bed and just suck at basketball.
Yeah, exactly.
He
He was.
either, you kind of mismanaged his skill set, you mismanaged his personality, and now he's gone.
Yep.
So, there's legitimate questions that could be brought up here. Do I think this class is good with Io, Georgie, Tevian Jones, Alan Griffin? Yes, it's a good class.
Yeah,
But
it's a top 25 class.
yeah, I'm not doubting that. But you also have to look at what bad they did. Yes, they're not going to land everyone. I understand that. But some of the decisions they made weren't necessarily great.
Yeah.
So, that's my take on the whole thing. Illinois versus Oregon, it totally makes sense.
Yeah.
But again, it's not official yet, so, we'll see.
Exactly. I mean, he can still choose Illinois. I don't expect him to. I
Oh,
expect Oregon to be the choice. But ultimately, too, like for Illinois fans, does a top 25 class get you to the tournament next year? And I'm not sure it does. It's
right.
one class. You have more people coming in than you have on the roster right now. And like, how do you expect that to work? Like,
Right.
it's probably another year of 13th in the Big Ten.
Right.
I kind of expect these freshmen, some of them are going to underwhelm. Like, that's just how it is. I expect Io to be fine. He doesn't have to put up 25 a game. He won't.
Right.
But as long as he can run the offense and look like he belongs out there, that's fine with that. And you go with guys like Georgie and Samba and, gosh, I mean, Tevian could be okay.
Georgie Bird.
Yeah, some of these comparisons, man. But I wouldn't expect the world from these guys. And I think as fans, it's hard to temper our expectations.
I agree.
Because of the kind of social media world we live in, where we see highlights of these guys all the time. We get caught up in the moment. But like when these guys are getting recruited by Illinois, they're Underwood's looking 3 years in the future, or however many years when they envision this program being back to what they want it. So I would, again, this is more like football than I wish it was. And it's probably a few years of a rebuild.
Yeah, I agree. Basically, like what I was telling you is that like whenever a freshman class is about to come in, people think, oh, this is the class that saves everyone. This is the class that brings Illinois back to the tournament.
Yep.
And I think, like how you just said, it's sort of over expectating because these kids are freshmen. They're going to take time to develop. And Brad Underwood said in his press conference, he wants a good program, not a good group of players. So this is just one step in hopefully the right direction. But all these guys are pieces, and these pieces have to build together, and it's going to take a good amount of top 25 classes, of top 30 classes,
Exactly.
to get back to where you want to go. It's not just one class. So, the one thing though that I've seen throughout this is I can trust this staff to, get creative and fill the holes that they need. Who would have known who Tevian Jones, Alan Griffin, Andres Feliz is in the fall when we were missing out on all those guys,
Yeah.
But this staff has connections. They have the routes. They have the nose for talent. So, I'm sure that they'll get someone, whether it's on the fifth-year market or even some high schooler that I've never heard of. But that's a good thing about the staff since they've casted such a wide net.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried, but at the same time, yes, like missing on a downstate kid that's pretty talented hurts. But again, yeah, Francis Okoro isn't Anthony Davis. You know, if I'm going to be honest, I think he probably would have been similar to what Jeremiah Tillman's freshman year was. You know, fouling a lot, showing some flashes. But with that being said, though, like, what is your overall expectation for Ayo Dosunmu? Because they're pretty high.
Yeah, I mean, he's a top 30, top 50 kid. So I would say to have high expectations isn't a bad thing. He's kind of put them on himself, and he has also kind of taken those expectations and tried his best, at least on Twitter and everything, with Illinois fans, to try to be that for them, to try to be that savior. Like, he wants it, you know, and he just feels like the guy that wants to step in and take over. But for me, expectation wise, I wouldn't mind if he was like I think Sean Livingston's done a great comp, but a guy who can create a little bit off the bounce from two. I know he doesn't have a great 3-point shot, so he can create some mid-range jumpers for himself. Get some dimes, maybe average like 10 points, 7 assists, or something like that per game his freshman year. I think that's some solid contribution from a freshman. I know his ranking's high, but that's a solid line for a freshman in the Big Ten. So I would take that. Alex, what about you?
I think 7 assists is a little lofty, just because.
Yeah, that's if he's starting and playing.
Especially since he's a quote-unquote positionless offense. But if healthy, I sort of expect him to have the kind of season that Xavier Simpson at Michigan had this past year. You know, ran the offense really well. Kind of, you know, he got to the hole at a very high clip, but didn't shoot the ball particularly well because that's not his strength.
Yeah.
He got to the line. Xavier Simpson was also an awful free throw shooter. I'm assuming that.
Michigan in general was terrible at free throws.
Yeah, you know, they would miss free throws. They would shoot like 60%, and then they would drain like 80% of their threes. So it was just as strange. But anyways, I would kill to have the season Michigan have.
Oh yeah.
But that's sort of the season I expect. The sophomore year season of Xavier Simpson just ran the offense really, really well. Was tough, played really good defense, used his toughness and his basketball IQ. Got to the hole at a good clip, got his teammates involved, and averaged. I think I'm looking at Xavier Simpson's stat line right now. It's 7 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, 1.3 steals. But I think that's why I think there's a learning curve for Ayo. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
Xavier Simpson had some really good games, especially towards the end of the season. I think his averages were down because of how he started. He had a lot of 0 points towards the beginning of the season. And then towards the end, you know, he was consistently scoring those double digits, you know, getting 12 points, 10 points, and, 4 to 6 assists, which is great. So that's sort of my expectation. But again, you know, you never know what these kids will do until they get on the floor. You know, Georgie could actually be the next coming of Larry Bird. Who knows? You know, we all thought Mark Smith was going to be Big Ten Freshman of the Year. Was he that?
Aaron Williams.
Yeah. We thought he was, Frank Williams, Darren Williams, all combined into one body, but didn't turn out well. You know, Trent Frazier, obviously we wanted him to be great, but we didn't expect him to be.
Yeah, it took him a while throughout the season to get to that level.
So I never try to get into these projections because I could very well be wrong, and I'm usually wrong, to be quite honest. Like, my takes are always like freezing cold by the end of the season.
Yeah, same here, man.
I was the guy that said like Ohio State was going to finish last in the Big Ten.
Yeah, there are a lot of those people. Though.
Yeah, but yeah, I guess a lot of people. And then I said Nebraska would be second to last, and they turned out pretty good too.
Yeah, man.
We'll see. Yeah, I'm hoping for the best. I'm sure things will work out.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I have the right to bring up these kind of questions and not be called a hater, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
But
If you're worried, you have the right to be worried. Like, if you're worried about the staff's ability to recruit, that's fine. Because there are legit questions that I have about the staff's ability to recruit.
agreed.
And I think there's a lot of people higher up too, like the Warners and Pipers of the world, that have legitimate questions too. And so I think if you're worried about this, just you can feel that way. It's okay. Don't feel like the rest of the fan base hates you or anything, because it's totally okay to feel this way. But kind of moving on to another sport that has had more recruiting success, at least in the 2019 class,
Kind of.
in basketball, is the football program, and they landed Bryce Childress, another Trinity Catholic kid. Good get for them. Just continues the pipeline. I know this happened a while ago, but we haven't talked about it since. And there were some questions of whether Illinois would take him, but ultimately he's talented, and you don't turn down a talented kid. I think it's just kind of simple, but I think that's kind of the logic there. Um, Alex, what do you think of Bryce Childress, and what do you think he could bring to Illinois football? At
Man,
least, if not his freshman year, down the line.
I really like this kid. He isn't that highly touted because he's on a team full of just juggernauts. But I believe Alan True was saying on the Jeremy Werner show that Bryce Childress is actually one of the more underrated players in the Midwest, even in the state of Missouri, with Isaiah Williams, Shawan Cooper, Jack Buford, etc. He's such a refined. I was watching his tape, and he just runs routes really, really well. And I think he fits extremely well in route spread offense, where
Yeah,
you get the ball in space, you got to be precise, you got to be quick. And when you get the ball in space, you got to be able to make people miss. Bryce doesn't have like elite speed. He's kind of undersized. He's like 5'9".
yeah,
But he's going to play in the slot and get the ball in space, and he's going to be tough to handle.
yeah,
I think he needs to work a little bit on his hands, with dropping the ball a little bit. But most high schoolers do.
yeah, for sure.
But he's just a really, really good route runner. He's really precise. Even though he was probably one of the lesser touted Trinity kids, he still had Power 5 offers. Nebraska was coming after this kid really hard.
Mm-hmm.
Nebraska's a really good program. I know Kentucky in the SEC, even though Kentucky's not that good at football, was coming after him hard too. But Illinois locked this kid down, and like you said, there's some questions about whether we would take him, but I don't think Illinois is at that spot yet where they
Exactly. Can be that picky.
I think hopefully in a couple years we can be, but if a decently talented kid with other Power 5 offers wants to come, you let him come.
Yeah, for sure.
So I like it. Hopefully, you take this guy, and then you get another one, and you get another one, and it just keeps going. So I like it.
Yeah, and kind of on a sour note, one of Illinois' top targets went to Minnesota this week. That would be Jason Bargee. He ended up going to Minnesota, and PJ Fleck rode that boat.
Boo.
And it kind of brings up this discussion that a lot of people had when Fleck was hired. There's this Fleck versus Levy thing that seems to always happen when Minnesota gets an Illinois kid or vice versa. And who would you rather have, Fleck or Levy? And looking at the program long term. And I hate PJ Fleck, like TBH. Like, I hate the guy. I just think he's so over the top, and I can't stand it. And obviously, we're both kind of biased. But what is your opinion on the Fleck versus Levy debate?
Man, well, I would say I don't like him because he has 3 of the top 10 kids in Illinois in the 2019 class.
Yeah.
Jason Bargee, Tyler Newbin from St. Charles North, and JJ Goudet, offensive lineman that Illinois really, really wanted. So obviously I don't like him. But, I mean, it's so interesting because Fleck is like the polar opposite of Levy.
Yeah.
JJ Fleck is just on caffeine 24/7, in your face, just over the top enthusiasm, and he's like that really cheesy coach's conference guy that tries to pump you up. And some kids like that, but you have on the other hand, you have Lovie Smith, who is very reserved. Will probably say 3 words in 1 hour.
Yeah, but Levy kind of has a like coolness that just like oozes off of him. Like he doesn't have
He
to
just
speak. You just
he
see
just
him
demands
drive.
respect. You know,
That
that's
dude's
what I
just
love.
cool, man. Like
Yeah,
he's just
and
that kind of guy. And
he's like the grandpa.
yeah,
He'll tell you like
turned 60 this.
very very yeah, happy birthday, coach. Um, but it's just he demands respect and he's just laid back. He won't really get in your ear. If you want to come, great. He's not the hype man, and
Yeah, he's
you know
got other
what?
people that does that for him now.
Exactly. He's got Corey Patterson and Thad Ward, and even Austin Clark at this point,
Yeah,
in terms of the hype man. But I mean, in terms of the row the boat, I remember seeing that first. And I was like, man, that's so stupid. Like,
so stupid.
but then the same thing could be said about Liddyville.
Okay, but I know
Whatever.
we're biased, but
Yeah.
all of the Liddyville stuff is on one side hilarious, and on the other side, it's just like
Like
it's
if I
taking
went,
off. Like they were on Big Ten Network talking about it the other day. I was like,
yeah,
what is this?
right. Well, like whatever gets you to market,
Yeah,
gets you to brand yourself. I mean, if I wasn't an Illinois fan, I'd be like Liddyville. What the like?
yeah,
It's a thing that you like if you go to the school.
yeah.
And maybe a couple other people will like it and buy into it. But
I'm just waiting for Liddyville to appear on the jerseys. I think that's the
oh
next,
yeah, it's like a
like
little
on like the helmet or something, or on the
yeah.
back. Liddyville, or on the back of the jersey instead of Fighting Illini, it says Liddyville.
I would love that. And honestly, like I would be down to get like one of those Liddyville baseball jerseys that wore.
Yeah,
That looks really nice.
yeah,
Uh,
man.
do you like these new jerseys, by the way? The new football jerseys? I
The
don't know.
football ones, I'm a big fan of the Navy ones. I think it's very,
Yeah, me too. Me too.
it's very Chicago Bears. It's very kind of throws back to Lovey's when he was at his height coaching wise. And I think it also is a nice tribute to Dick Butkus as well. Um, I really dig the Navy ones. I don't know why everyone's so mad about the orange looking like Syracuse.
It does
Uh,
though. The
it
helmet,
does.
especially.
Yeah, it does. But Syracuse's colors are kind of the same. So it's like not like a. I don't know. I understand why people are upset about it, but ultimately, like, it's going to be fine.
Yeah, no, people were saying like, man, we should look more like Virginia's because Virginia's had a little bit more variety. I think
Yeah.
there's more like to the jersey. There's a little stripe here and there, but whatever, as long as you win games, I could care less. As long as you're not wearing like those zigzag basketball jerseys that we have,
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of. I am fine with the Syracuse looking jerseys. Obviously, a couple things could have been tweaked, but they're nice. But with that being said, though, if you're a recruit, it just depends. I mean, if you're a recruit looking at Minnesota or Illinois, it just sort of depends on personality. Illinois did the legwork with Jason Bargy. They offered first. They were really, really in on him hard. He was on campus a bunch of times, but the personality just was drawn more towards PJ Fleck. So, what can you do? But PJ Fleck is just a huge thorn in Lovie Smith's behind.
Yeah,
and I don't
and
like it.
What's good for Illinois though is Minnesota wasn't very good this year either. So
Yeah, it's
he
not
didn't,
like
he didn't come in and lead them to a top four. Like, he wasn't like this. He didn't lead them to the promised land year one. Like he had his
exactly.
struggles too. Actually, Illinois almost beat him, but Cam Thomas threw a pick. So it's like on one hand, kind of sucks, but on the other, they're struggling not just as much as we are, but they haven't won many games either with him.
And Fleck, he actually isn't that well liked amongst coaches. And
Well, he isn't well liked among me either. So
right. But it's just going to be really interesting because of that personality contrast. And it's funny because I remember on signing day in the fall, or not the fall, like December, whenever that first signing day was.
Yeah.
Lovie Smith had his press conference and it was like 25 minutes and he barely said anything. He said the same thing about every single player. He was like, yeah, we like that he's big. We like that he's strong. We like that he's from Texas. And in that like really slow paced 6 mile an hour Lovie voice.
Yeah.
And PJ Fleck's conference was an hour and 15 minutes. So like I remember like watching that press conference for Lovie. I was like, man, there's no content in here whatsoever.
Yeah.
But it's just really interesting to see how this is going to play out and what kind of recruit each coach is going to he's gonna draw. So
Yeah.
we'll see. I'm just as long as they don't go to Northwestern, I'm cool.
Yeah, that's kind of
I
where I'm
hate
at too.
Northwestern.
And
I
also,
hate them.
Illinois has, at least for me, done an incredible job recruiting out of state. So
Oh,
like those losses to Minnesota, yeah, they feel big at the time, but then you get kids like Marquez Beeson,
mhm.
Calvin Avery, keeping like from out of state, Texas, Florida, Mike Epstein,
Right.
different players like that. They kind of like take the load off because you're getting all these good players from out of state. And I think honestly, I don't want to say they don't care about in-state kids because they do, obviously, but they're pulling in great talent elsewhere too. So it makes like the battle a little bit less tense for me. Like if we were like going all in state and we had no connections out of state, I'd be like, yeah, this is terrible. Like this sucks. But
That doesn't stack.
you got Hardy Nickerson with the California connections, Rod Smith with California connections, Levy Smith deep in Texas, and so some of the other assistants, Hayes Stoker in Texas as well. So you have a lot of connections as well. And Alex, you have any last thoughts on Fleck, Levy, Illinois football, anything like that?
Yeah. I think Jeremy Warner put this so perfectly. Like the in-state kids know your warts.
Yeah.
They've seen your history. They know, you're not really that good, to be quite honest. And they grew up sort of on the Tim Beckman era, unfortunately. Like being an in-state guy, being like an alum of U of I and being in the suburbs of Illinois, the Illinois football perception isn't that great.
Yeah.
It's all about Northwestern football. Even fans are more so pushed towards Notre Dame. Even that's how.
Yeah.
Because no one wants to freaking root for Northwestern.
Yeah, exactly.
So like they need something to root for. Illinois wasn't that good the past 10 years. So they root for places like the Notre Dame Fighting Irish and places like that. So
yeah,
the in-state perception of Illinois isn't that great right now. You got to win games.
Exactly.
So that's why this year is so huge to please just double your wins. I know it sounds like a lot, but
get forward. I'll be okay.
Get to 4.
Get forward.
Sneak into a bowl game.
Make that win one game you should not win, and I would be pretty happy with that.
Exactly. Go 2-1 or something in the non-con, and then beat like Purdue and Rutgers.
Yeah, and even if you lose to Purdue, be like someone somehow like pull one out of your butt, beat Nebraska.
Like you don't have to beat Penn State or like Ohio State. Like, you're not going to do that.
No.
If you do, great.
But if you want to make those games look competitive, I'd be okay with that.
Oh yeah, please. We're like those guys that are just, you could do it. You could do it.
Keep it close.
Yeah, but I'm hoping for the best. I'm actually kind of excited to see what happens.
Yeah, me too, man. But as we kind of round out the show, the NBA playoffs have been going on. We did a prediction show a few weeks ago. And I believe our conference finals predictions were completely right, except we both had 70 Philly instead of Boston in the conference finals. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Unless you had Toronto beating Cleveland.
I did, and that was stone cold. Oh man, the year of cold takes on my end continue.
Yeah, Raptors, the first 1 seed to get swept before the conference finals.
That was terrible.
Yeah, they're terrible. Yeah.
After they lost that first game, I was like, "Yep, it's over."
Yeah, exactly. LeBron happened.
Yeah, and then LeBron happened. But do you think Dwayne Casey should be fired?
No, he's gonna win.
No.
He's literally gonna win Coach of the Year tomorrow, and he's gonna get fired like the day after.
He is
like,
not.
When does that ever happen? Has that ever happened?
Yeah,
basketball.
Not the issue. It's like if Tibbs got fired after the D Rose MVP year.
Yeah, exactly.
So
it's just the Raptors are just something else. But
I'm excited for the Houston Golden State series, as everyone is. What do you think about that?
I think I have Houston winning.
Yeah, me too.
But Golden State's been cold. Throughout this playoff series, and they've only lost twice. So it's like, oh man, it's so hard to pick against them. They're so good.
And you've seen Houston go cold and just not play well.
And if Chris Paul plays like he did the other day, they'll win the series pretty easily.
That man did not want to take any more crap.
Yeah, exactly. I would love it if he got to the finals. Honestly, he deserves to be there. But yeah, I've got Houston and Cleveland in my final.
Nice. Yeah. I think you had another hot take, Zach, of Chris Paul, one of the best point guards of all time.
I called him. I think I called him the best point guard of all time. I think I was a
Oh,
little bit.
the.
I
Okay.
think I was a prisoner of the moment, but I'm not sure. I 100% disagree with my statement. I really just said that because I don't think he gets enough credit for all the stats he's put up over his career, and
Yeah.
really for like not getting to the conference finals. Like that's not just on him. You know, like there's other
Like,
players on that team. Like Blake Griffin's just as responsible as Chris Paul was. You know,
oh, yeah.
so
Yo,
it's
Chris
like.
Paul, yeah. One of the best leaders out there, to be
So
honest.
I'm happy for him that he's in the
Oh, me
conference
too.
finals. I hope he gets to the NBA finals.
Yeah, I just want something different. I don't want the
Yeah,
same Golden State, Cleveland, and then Golden State wins 4-1, and
yeah,
LeBron gets overmatched. Like, I want something out of the ordinary, something
yeah. I
fresh.
do too. Speaking
So,
of out of the ordinary, on Tuesday the NBA draft lottery takes place for both Bulls fans. We're just hoping for to sneak in that top three. So if you see us on Twitter, mostly me probably talking about the draft lottery. If the Bulls get in the top three, I'll be really excited, and I'm sure we'll be talking about it a ton on the podcast next week because
definitely.
Alex and I will be through the roof if
Oh,
that
yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think this is it for this episode. Alex, man, take care. Where can the people find you on Twitter?
They can find me at Alex, ALEX_KYI. And I do most of the Armchair line tweets. So if you see something that pisses you off from that account, it's probably me. So direct all complaints towards me.
All right. And you
How
can
about
find
you?
me at Zach Leslie Hoops, ZACHLESLIE Hoops. Remember to follow us on Twitter at Armchair Illini. I guess we have a Facebook page now too. So if you want to go like that Facebook page
Yeah, that'd
and
be nice.
follow that Facebook page, we don't do anything on it right now, but I'm sure we'll try. And
Eventually.
subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, wherever you listen to podcasts. Like it, rate us, all that good
Oh,
stuff.
yeah. Please rate and subscribe. That mean a lot to us.
Alex, man, thanks for joining me, and we will see you guys next time.